What's up, everybody? This your boy, Bless the Damn Best, coming at you live from foundational Black American stronghold, Augusta, Georgia, the home of our great legend, James Brown. But today, I'm coming at you with something a little different from the normal videos that I make. I normally feature voices from the new black media, making valid points and strong arguments for things that I believe in, right? But today, it's more like a story time. I'm gonna tell y'all how I came to speaking in front of this flag behind me, right? If you familiar with my channel, when I first joined YouTube, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I had Pan-African lineage, right? I grew up, I came of age in the 80s, and it was then that I discovered blackness. A lot of stuff I picked up from my family, a lot of stuff I picked up from hip hop. Okay, during the late 80s and till about the mid 90s, it was a real strong pro-black conscious presence in hip hop, and those were the type of artists I followed, and that helped to shape my ideology in a certain way. You know, it was groups like X-Clan, you know, and they was out there with the red, the black, and the green. You know, pretty much the predominant ideology, keyword ideology, was Pan-Africanism, right? Okay. Push forward a few more years to the rise of Dr. Khalid Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, and he would always represent the Pan-African flag, and I was a follower of him. I was a fan of the way that he had a very masculine, manly presence, and his mind was very sharp. He wasn't the one to be on the wrong side of a debate with. So I'm saying that to say this: that's where the red, black, and green, the reverence for Africa. Because keep in mind, in the day and age when I grew up, if you was pro-black, that's what it was. Times are changing these days. The internet changed the game. It was only so many sources of knowledge. You know what I mean? You had to get your hands on some type of book or some type of VCR tape like that. It wasn't a whole bunch of outlets like it is now. So when I started on YouTube, my very first video was about Young Pharaoh and how wrong I was about him. But it wasn't just that I was wrong about him. My ideology hadn't came into his own. I was into too much that didn't touch the ground, that wasn't really practical in the real world. So here comes along YouTube. So as I search YouTube and listen to different things, the first thing that caught my ear on YouTube was Sonetta TV. So I was over there listening to all these lectures and debates on Sonetta TV, and which was cool, and they pushed the red, the black, and the green over there. But what I wasn't aware of was most of those guys over there, they come from an immigrant background, and it always gets into something real mystical and scientific and all this. So somehow, listening to a lot of Sonetta TV, it put me into like a Black Power algorithm, I guess. And that's around the time I stumbled across Jason Black and Professor Black Truth. And it took me about 1 or 2 listens to come to the conclusion, yes, this is what I've been looking for the whole time. This is the thoughts that I had in my mind, but I thought I was the only one that thought them, you know. And it was black empowerment. Like, black empowerment is practical. It's not mystical, and it's straightforward. Sonetta, Sonetta TV, no disrespect, but now I look back at that as just babble. It's a lot of plebiscite babble over there. So, all right, we're gonna jump ahead again. I come across Tariq. I come across some of the Mac Lessons content and his older content, and I really didn't know whether to take him serious or not. He was very smart and very entertaining, but I didn't know whether to take him seriously on the black empowerment thing. And then over the years, boom, he dropped Hidden Colors, and right then he was a heavyweight. I don't know if my timeline right or not. I don't know if I heard him on, because Jason Black and Professor Black Truth used to do like a State of the Black Union address every year. And if my memory serves me correct, one of those years Tariq was on with him. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But Hidden Colors changed the game. You know what I mean? I learned so much about black people from Hidden Colors. And now pile that on top of my background in Pan-Africanism, that only made it stronger. Seeing all these accomplishments and places where black people were that I never knew about. You know what I mean? That even took me farther in that direction. Okay, boom. In Hidden Colors, the very first Hidden Colors was the very first time in my life I ever saw any information on black Aboriginal people. Now, just like everybody else that grew up in the South, I have heard from at school and stuff, not in my family, but it might be this pretty girl where she might be a little lighter and her hair might be a little straighter, and those were the ones who would always say that their grandmother was an Indian or they had Indian in the family. Now, I never ever for 1 second took it seriously, because I had never heard it in my family. And I had never saw any kind of information on the topic. I grew up like everybody else, watching TV, looking at the news, and when somebody said Indian, I thought about the Hollywood, ooh, Indian, riding around on horseback with a tomahawk. I never ever knew of black indigenous. So I heard it for the first time in Hidden Colors, and maybe a year or two later, the very next time I heard anything about that, I ran across a Dane Calloway video. And so, like, as I'm scrolling through YouTube, it stopped me in my tracks. We ain't African, you know, titles like that. We ain't African. The slave trade was told in reverse, right? So I'm like, boom, who is this guy? You know, what is he talking about? So I click on it, and I get this long, convoluted, drawn out babbleathon from Dane Calloway that's about to put me to sleep. But I'm really listening because I'm interested in the topic, right? So it would always leave me confused at the most. By the time I get, it's like every video would just end, and I'm just floating in outer space with nothing concrete to grab onto. So I started watching them, and then I ran into the Nat Turner was a creation of the government, and Harriet Tubman was really just a train conductor driving a regular train. And so I was like, hold up, is this guy an idiot or some kind of grifter, or both? So boom, immediately I started doing research and making videos to debunk those claims in particular about Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner and all this wild shit. Slavery never existed. Nobody ever came from Africa, and if they did, they was white. All this stuff. So I'm doing the research and finding out that every other thing he says is a lie. So what that did, that made me very slow to believe that it was actual black indigenous. Okay, so I would make these videos, not necessarily to debunk that it wasn't black Aboriginal. I would make videos to prove that the slave trade absolutely did happen, and there were Africans brought here to this country, and that the foundational black Americans of today are descendants of those Africans, right? So in the process, I learned so much about the black indigenous. Now, by the first time I heard like detailed information about it came from a line guy that just will say anything to get you to click on the video. I was real slow with it. But I tell you what, I had so many debates in my comment section, and I would pick up a bit of truth here and a bit of truth there, and my opinion on that topic changed. Now I learned that it absolutely was black aboriginals on this land. Now I don't believe that they just spawned out of the ground here and they was here and never been nowhere else. Like my research didn't tell me that, but my research absolutely showed me that in the 17 and 1800s there were aboriginal people here with a black phenotype. My research absolutely showed me that the foundational black Americans of today are a mixture of black aboriginals, slaves from Africa, and white settlers. Just going strictly off proximity. That has to be the case. So now, okay, now we gonna move forward a little bit more to around 2020 when I joined Twitter, and I became aware of like Twitter Spaces. You know, it seems routine now, but at that time it wasn't many places where you could go and broadcast and bring people up without having to dial a phone number or something like that. So I would just get on Twitter and I was listening, and I would go in some of these rooms and just listen and hear Africans and Jamaicans just straight up and down denigrating black Americans. I had no way in Augusta, Georgia, when I was growing up, I don't think it was one immigrant. Maybe a couple of Mexicans, but everybody around me growing up was straight up and down foundational black Americans. So I had this romantic view of an African's mind. I thought that African was fighting even harder than we was fighting against white supremacy. And when I heard their mindset, and just like Caribbeans, okay, never ever had any contact at all with Haitians, okay. When I went to college, my first year in college, it was this guy in the dorm. We was in Denmark, South Carolina, and there was a guy in the dorm. He was from New York, and he used to walk around with his radio. Back in the day, I know it sounds like some Stone Age shit now, but back in the day, people used to walk around with their radio, and he used to be listening to reggae, and that was like my first time hearing it. And he introduced me to Bob Marley, and Bob Marley, you know, he wasn't singing nothing but conscious lyrics, revolution, and all that. So, you know, I was a big fan of him. So I thought all Jamaicans thought like Rastas. I didn't know all this jealousy and hatred and crazy shit that they got for us. So Twitter Spaces exposed it. Then, okay, around the same time, now I'm still making these videos, going back and forth with the elbows, but the super elbows that say all this shit that they can't prove, those kind. Okay, so on Twitter, it was this group called Secure the Tribe. So when I heard Secure the Tribe, I immediately, and saw the feathers and stuff in the hashtags, I immediately knew that these were some elbows, you know what I mean, as they call it. So now this is just coming from my perspective. I'm not saying that somebody else might have some information that I don't know about to debunk what I'm finna say. Feel free to do so. But the first time I took notice of the word delineation, it was from them. I mean, I would go in their spaces and listen, and they would say every other word. No, you know, and that's why we delineate. So they were Twitter people. So they had heard all the bullshit and the bull jive in the that Caribbeans and Africans used to say about us. So I didn't really take them seriously at first, but then over time, all right, where we at in the story? Okay, around the same time, Tariq started mentioning foundational Black American, and then I had already heard what's his name, Claude Anderson, saying something similar before on a video around the same time, and it made so much logical sense that, you know, that's what brought me into this movement, the lineage movement, and it made me realize that Pan-Africanism was it was a good idea. And okay, let me back up a little bit. Okay, now Tariq's definition of what Pan-African is different from mine. His definition is, if you Pan-African, the ultimate goal is for everybody to move to Africa. No, that's not what it means to me. Pan-African is almost like the B1 that the new black media pushes. B1, black first. Like if you're gonna help somebody black, you know, be about black people first before anything else. Now, that's closer to my definition of Pan-Africanism. But the only thing about that is it makes too many assumptions. You have to make too many assumptions, because I assumed that being black meant fighting white supremacy. Because when I look back into my lineage on this soil, when I look back to what I saw growing up, I saw black people fighting against white supremacy. So I assume black people in Africa and in the Caribbean or wherever else had the same mindset. So it was off the rails from the beginning, because it was based on assumption. But foundational Black American is a great empowering term. All you got to do is follow your logic and common sense to know what it means. And me, I'm very, very proud of what my ancestors have done here since the start of the United States. And you know, I did my genealogy, right? I traced back to the 1840s in Augusta, Georgia, and Edgefield, South Carolina, right? And so my mom right now, my mom is 84 years old. My grandmother lived to be 90. My great grandmother lived to be 103, which I got a picture where I was probably about 5 or 6 years old with her on the picture. Now, her mother they used to call her Grandma Maggie. She died before I was born. But when I was showing my mom all the genealogy stuff that I pulled up, and she saw her name, and she was like, yeah, Grandma Maggie. Said like, yeah, that's Grandma Maggie's name. She was from a tribe. She used to wear her hair in 2 braids going straight down the side. So I'm looking at mom like, huh? Like she was from a tribe. Like, yeah, you know, I don't know which one or whatever, but she was from a tribe. And I'm like, damn. So everybody grandmama wasn't lying. And you know what? I will take the egg on my face for that, because all of it makes me proud to be a foundational Black American. And that is the story time for today. I'm out. Bless the best. Your host. Till the next post.